Welcome, guys, to Kieran's Corner. Very special episode of Your Team, Your Say this week. We have the one, the only, possibly the most famous super fan in the NFL. It's Bengals Captain. How are you doing, my friend?
Thank you so much for having me on. I am doing excellent. It is a good day to be a Bengals fan. We've got the pick of the litter, and we're all arguing about it.
Yeah, I'm just very excited to have you on. But for all our viewers out there, thank you for joining us and welcome to Kieran's Corner.
Kick it and go.
If the intro runs.
Kick it and go. Kick it and go. With a stiff on, spin move, in zone, go. From sideline to touchdown, I put on the show. Kick it and go. I had to kick it off and go. Kick it and go. I had to kick off and go. With a stiff on, spin move, in zone, go. From sideline to touchdown, I put on the show. Kick it and go. I had to kick off and go.
Thank you for sitting past the intro, guys. I know you hate seeing the Patriots gear in that intro, but let's get straight into it. The Cincinnati Bengals last season. It was tough for me to watch as an LSU fan. What happened with Joe? But how do you feel he played up until obviously the unfortunate game against Washington?
Absolutely as advertised. A lot of people put a lot of hype thinking that first game was just going to be, perfect. He's going to be Hall of Famer. He showed some rookie mistakes, which what impressed me the most was how quickly he bounced back every time he made a mistake. He even the famous quote, the Showtime NFL showed him talking to some of the defenders. He's like, next time I'll get that call, or, that won't happen again. He learned to get the ball out quickly. He learned where his weaknesses were on the offensive line, and he worked around them. And you couldn't ask for more, as far as a mental processing. Unfortunately, some of his biggest plays got called back. Some of the times he escaped and hit T. Higgins down the sideline. I loved Andy Dalton. I was a huge Andy Dalton supporter, but I couldn't help whoever I brought to the game, I cycled through, different people who could come to the games with me. And every single game he had one or two just those throws, like he didn't complete that, did he? Oh my God, he did. It just every single game he does that. So we couldn't be more thrilled to have Joe Burrow leading the team.
It's good to have an Ohio boy in Ohio as well. I think he was kind of pumped to stay in his home state, to play for a team such as the Cincinnati Bengals, despite maybe there being a bit of reputation amongst NFL fans of the team the past couple years. But Joe's fit in perfectly. In terms of a rookie having ball placement, he was incredible. Some of the throws he made, you don't even see guys like Drew Brees making. So he was just incredible. I remember a play, I think against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where he threw to T. Higgins. It was like a 15-yard completion. And he put it at a point where only T. Higgins could get it. And the way they were in sync so quickly was just fantastic. And I mean, despite the offensive line being, you had some bright spots there, like Quinton Spain. I like that guy. He seems like a very fun player, and he seems like he's down to ride. But you've got some good pieces. Joe Mixon is an absolute beast. Giovanni Bernard, some of the plays he makes are incredible. And then obviously on the defense, you've got some good players like Von Bell, and then Logan Wilson, who was a guy I was very high on coming in. Did you expect to get, I know it was only like 4 wins, but did you expect 4 wins this season, or did you kind of think it would be a little bit worse given, some of the things the media were saying?
I think the media never gives us a fair break. And when injuries hit us hard, then they go back and think, hey, I told you so. They use those injuries as a reason that they were right on their predictions. And I realize some people hate the injury excuse, but it is a legitimate excuse for a lot of teams. If you're middle of the pack, the group of the NFL that, injuries happen. Okay, great. It's a level playing field. If you get lucky and you're at the top 10 most healthy teams, you could overperform. But those teams that are in the bottom 10, it is so difficult to test depth at 4, 5, 6 different units. And then once Burrow goes down, it was what it was. So the close games are frustrating. We're all getting a little irritated losing the close games, but Burrow with another year under his belt, Coach Taylor going into his third year, made some huge upgrades just with the offensive line coach. So I think some of those little the moments in a game you've got to dig down. We saw Cleveland break our hearts on a last-second throw. You dig down, you know what's coming. You're not caught off guard, and I think that's what we're going to see this year. So injuries hurt last year, but you know what? Hey, might not have been a playoff team anyway. This year, I think playoffs is the target at least.
Yeah, because I was going to say that Cleveland game was probably one of the best games of the season. It was just back and forth, and Baker looked great, Burrow looked great. Every single player on the field that game gave it their all, and it was probably one of the best Ohio versus Ohio games that we've seen in recent memory. And especially with the Browns hitting that peak they have this season and going out and finally getting that monkey off their back and beating the Steelers in a big game. I feel like there's a real big rivalry that's going to be brewing over the next couple of years between the Cincinnati Bengals as they build and as the Browns continue to get better and better. AFC North is looking like one of the hardest divisions in football right now, especially as you've got Lamar Jackson and the Steelers. They've been good for a while now, and I kind of feel like they're going to fall off a cliff this season with everything that happened last season. And before we kind of move on a little bit, how happy were you when you got that win over the Steelers late last season? Because that, for me, was... I hate the Steelers, so that was fantastic for me to watch.
I like you.
How was that as a Bengals fan?
It was really... I almost want to use the word cathartic. It just... so many things happened. It wasn't always just sheer dominance. It was horrible officiating. It was a bad bounce. It was an injury. It was so many different things. It was not the dominance that the team and the fans seemed to believe it was. So finally, we get a couple of things that bounce in our favor, a couple of calls that don't go against us. And the entire game, there was a Steelers fan above my left shoulder. At one point in the game, this obnoxious jerk actually pulled his pants down and showed his ass to everyone in the stadium, bare ass, in typical Steelers fan fashion. And he left early. We all waved goodbye. He couldn't take it anymore. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
That's the crazy thing as well, because I have a few friends who are Steelers fans, but they're all from the UK. I don't know anyone who's from Pittsburgh or an American Steelers fan who I actually get on with. I think the guys, especially Steelers fans who go to games, are sort of a different breed. I remember a friend of mine came to a Browns game over here. He walked past Steelers fans wearing his Browns jersey, and they just pelted him with cans and bottles. And I was like, who are these people, man? It's ridiculous. And so that must have felt great for you guys. And even though they're your rivals, you must have felt great watching the Browns absolutely beat the snot out of him in the playoffs. If you're anything like me, I was screaming at the TV all night. That was a great moment to watch.
Yeah.
Was that fun for you as well, despite not being a Cleveland fan?
Absolutely. Every fan base has horrible fans. I know a lot of really great Browns fans who, they've suffered like us. They know what we've went through. There's a kindred spirit there. The kids on Twitter that act like Baker's the next coming, they'd pick him over Mahomes. I was happy to see them upset in the next round. But for the great Browns fans that they just want to see a good rivalry. They just want to win, for crying out loud. It's been so long. Hey, I feel you. Exactly. I'm with you.
I was going to say there must be some solidarity because in the years they were kind of really, really struggling, you were still going to the playoffs 5 years in a row with the Red Rifle at the helm. And then you guys have kind of slipped off the last few years. So I can imagine there's kind of some solidarity there between fans. But let's get a little bit more in depth about this man. A man who, as you could see from my overlay, very close to my heart. I am diehard LSU, and I can't even say enough good things about this man. But let's talk about these kind of incredible stats for a rookie with a bad offensive line. I mean, I'm not saying he's short of receiver talent, but AJ Green kind of lost a step this year. Like, he's 404 attempts, 65.3% completion yards, 2,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 5 picks, of which 3 weren't really his fault. They were tip balls. And the 89.8 quarterback rating. That's almost unheard of for a rookie stepping into this sort of situation. How did it feel when you were waiting for that draft pick to be called at draft night? Were you apprehensive that something would go wrong, or did you have full trust in the Bengals that they would go out and get Joey B for you?
Full trust. You know, it's funny because so many Bengals fans, they've been disappointed. You know, the media narratives, even some of the biggest voices on social media have tried to take shots at the team. You know, that's really the whole reason that I came to social media, was try to combat some of that. You know, they think it's funny to drop a joke, and then the fans start to believe it, and then you just expect bad things to happen. I had complete faith. You know, I've had the opportunity, been lucky enough to have the opportunity to talk to Mike Brown, to talk to Troy Blackburn, Katie Blackburn. They are not the people that sometimes they're made out to be. They're very intelligent. They're great. They love the fans. I had zero doubt Burrow was going to be the pick, but I was excited. I almost got emotional watching it, just because so many people hammered the organization. They tried to tell, Burrow should request a trade. Burrow shouldn't play in Cincinnati. You know, it's a poverty franchise.
He's not that type of player either. He would never say he's not that type of player. If you've seen him play at LSU and his journey to get there and the way he improved in his 2 years at LSU, he is not that guy. He will go to a team and he wants to uplift those around him.
Exactly. He is a true leader. He's got that charisma. But when you look at Cincinnati, we've got a rich history of quarterbacks. You know, Greg Cook career cut too short. Kenny Anderson should be in the Hall of Fame along with Ken Riley and Corey Dillon, Willie Anderson. I can go on and on. You know, we had Palmer, you know, and then Palmer, no one expected us to win a game. We pick Andy Dalton the second round. So many people were saying, it's a 2-win team. Andy and AJ Green take them to the playoffs. And then he has success. Now we've got Burrow. We've had a great history, and everybody's seen the Browns jersey with 30 some odd names all the way down for their quarterbacks. You know, we looked at the Dolphins, try to compare all the quarterbacks they went through, and all these other teams who are not getting that type of media attention. We did. So when they finally called Burrow, I knew Burrow was going to be the pick. And they finally called him. I almost got emotional because finally we can be done with it and move on to a new era.
Yeah, that's probably, look, as a Patriots fan, last year was very different for me. But through the whole time I've watched NFL, I've never had to feel what it's like to know who your quarterback is going in, or never having a high draft pick. And I think last year I kind of gained a little bit of appreciation for teams that are very middling and do kind of struggle, which is why I love Joe, because he really is incredible. But obviously you're probably one of the most famous Bengals fan, and you're always very positive and very fair about the team on Twitter, and you're not afraid to you're not afraid to criticize them if they do something wrong. And I think that's very important from fans, which is this next point I feel like we're going to divide the fan base here, and I'm not sure if our opinions will match on this, but how do you feel about Zac Taylor as a head coach?
I'm a Zac Taylor fan. It's tough because if he doesn't work out, maybe it wasn't meant to be. Maybe he doesn't have it. Maybe, 8 million different things. But the first year, he was really a late hire. He had difficulty assembling the staff, not because really of his difficulty. Part of it was timing, and then part of it was, okay, there were some talks that some defensive coordinators did not want to, work for the Bengals. That is, I understand that's on the table. And the best way we can do that is to get back to winning. So a guy like Burrow, there will be a Burrow effect. So, hey, let's get the ship righted and get everybody back on board and let everybody fight for the job. Second year, of course, coronavirus. Then suddenly everything changes. We've got a rookie learning, and he's not the only rookie that had to learn virtually. But, for a brand new head coach who is starting with a rookie and all these other pieces in place, it's tough. And all of those, people have talked about the one score wins and losses. That is really a deceiving stat, because when you look at a team who's lost a lot of games, the Chargers lost a lot of games that way, the Bengals lost a lot of games that way, that can flip very quickly. So when you look at a team with a poor record and a lot of those one score losses, next year it could be the other direction. So the Bengals have addressed some of those reasons that they had, the one score losses. That could change in a heartbeat this season, and then suddenly Zac's the man. Now, there were reports of issues with coaching. I've had people tell me about the offensive line coach, and he might believe in his approach. People have said, players need to be tough. I think there's a line to draw in leadership. You've got to be able to. Mike Zimmer, I've been a fan of how hard-nosed he is. He'll drop an F-bomb. He'll drop it in the context of the situation, and it's never at you. He is never trying to. I've never heard a story about him trying to pull somebody down. Whereas Turner, there were some people who thought he did that. And, with a struggling unit, a team that's trying to reestablish winning ways, that can really get in the way. Should somebody be tougher? Case can be made. But in my career, the times that I have been absolutely pulled down, it is so hard to pull yourself back up. So the coaches that inspire, and Frank Pollock sounds like one of those guys, he's going to get them, right. Now, Zac's involvement in everything, I've heard a lot of players still on board. They love his message. People talk about coach speak when he interviews, but if you know what he's saying, if you listen, I can completely understand what he's trying to say. He admitted multiple times there were problems with the offensive line last season, even though people tried to say he wouldn't acknowledge it. He absolutely did. Just because he didn't throw down, "We suck," doesn't mean he didn't acknowledge that there was a problem. He's going to go about it professionally. He's going to try to not tear down those guys, but let everybody know it's on the table. Anything's on the table, any change. And that's why they swap positions. That's why they looked at addressing some things in the off season, but it looks like they're going to focus on the draft. So I'm a Zac Taylor fan. I think this year is the year that he proves everybody wrong.
Yeah. I kind of always thought you got to give a coach 3 years. And if they can't make things happen in those 3 years, then maybe something's going wrong, especially when you're giving him so many pieces. But I was also very big on getting Joe Brady in as an offensive coordinator and getting Marcus Freeman from University of Cincinnati in as a defensive coordinator. I think, match made in heaven. And if Zac Taylor, obviously a Cincinnati man himself, could maybe make something work there. But it's obviously tough, and I understand that Zac Taylor is in a very, very tough position, and he's probably not envied by a lot of coaches for the situation he's in, because he's kind of got to do a lot with a bad situation he's been put into. But you can see he's building, and you can see he's very committed to making sure this team gets better, which brings me on to the next part. And I see your tweets about it. I see other Bengals fans' tweets about it. I see people who aren't Bengals fans tweeting about it. And that's obviously the big choice that you guys are going to have to make in the next few weeks. And is it Ja'Marr Chase or is it Penei Sewell in this upcoming draft?
There's got to be a moment of uncomfortable silence now.
It's a tough choice, and I don't envy having to make it, but I see, hey, we could get some great guys like Rashawn Slater later and stuff like that, or we could pick up some great receivers in the second round, like a guy like Rondale Moore potentially falls, or Terrence Marshall, another guy from LSU who absolutely shone last year despite only playing 7 games, put up nearly 800 yards, and obviously has that connection with Burrow. But anyone who knows this and is a fan of me knows that I have been saying some what people may say wildly enthusiastic things about Ja'Marr Chase, but I legitimately think he's the best receiver we've seen come out of college since Julio Jones, in terms of the way he plays and the amount of tape I've watched on this kid. Look, I'm an LSU fan through and through, and in the last 2 seasons, I watched every single snap we took, and last season was tough. Last season was very tough. But that 2019 season when Burrow and Chase just, it's so crazy to me that he could potentially be the guy for you, but the offensive line is going to need a lot of help. You've only gone out and got Riley Reif in terms of big name signings. But what is your thinking here without maybe peeing off half of the fan base on either side of this debate?
You know what? I do that every now and then anyway, so I'm used to it. I wish we could rebuild our trenches. The times that we have been a dominant team, we have been dominant in the trenches. So I've been Team Sewell from the very beginning. I really think he gives us a better running game. He gives us a better passing game because of the protection. He gives us, we're not talking about great. We upgraded. We hopefully upgraded with Reif. Again, Bengals fans ignored some of the improvement in 2019 on the offensive line, and it just so happens they basically took a step backward, even though they added Jonah Williams and Xavier Su'a-Filo. They took a huge step backward, but then they started to bring it on again mid-year, and things started to click again, and Burrow started to, understand about he's going to have to get rid of the ball a little more quickly with his current offensive line, and things started to work better. So we hope that Reif adds a huge bump to that line, but what if it doesn't? What if we get an offensive lineman in the second round and we start out the gates and Burrow's on his backside again? Those same fans that are clamoring for Chase are going to just rip the team apart. That's what I don't want to see. That's why, Sewell's been a favorite of mine, but I also am a huge advocate for best player available, regardless. So we've got a generational talent at tackle. Maybe we can draft another Munoz, maybe. But I understand everybody talking about the drop-off isn't as enormous in that second round as it has been, any other year. If we see these guys that we're going to see in the second round, if we would have seen them in the first round, heck, if we would have seen any of these guys in the past how many years, we might not have had a chance to draft Burrow. We might have been winning more games because there's quality in that second round on the offensive line. And with Chase, I think you get day one chemistry. where AJ Green wasn't necessarily 100% sure of where to be, where Joe wanted. There was some throws where the placement of Joe's pass, I could tell. Like I wish I could ask him. I guarantee he'd say, yes, I meant to put it right there. And AJ's looking the other side. You know, it's not going to happen with Chase. Jamar and him, it's going to be instant. Then I worry, well, what happens? Who are you going to pay? You going to pay Boyd, Higgins, or Chase? Or are you going to wrap up the entire team's salary cap?
Chase at that point.
You know, hey, maybe we only have to worry about that after they win a couple of Super Bowls together. I don't know. Sewell's pro day, I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm thinking who's best player available. It's more neck and neck now. I'm leaning still toward Chase being BPA. If somebody said, hey, Jeremy, you've got to turn in your fan card if you screw this up, give it some thought, give us the draft card, I'm probably back in my analytics and I'm handing in Chase. My heart, though, my heart, yeah.
Yes, I love that shirt. That is amazing.
Shout out to Raw on TV for that. Great shirt. And I agree. But you know what? You can protect him with better weapons just as much as you can protect him with offensive line. I just hope it works.
Because as an LSU fan, and I'm going to come off as biased, but that's just it's the nature of talking about a player from a team you love, and I don't care about the accusations at this point. I truly believe Ja'Marr Chase will be the best receiver in the league for the last 20 years when all is said and done. I truly believe that. He has the talent this man has is unlike anything I've ever seen. Throughout that 2019 season, the fact that he would moss people, he then stays balanced after high point in a ball and still manages to turn his hips around and switch it upfield with that 4.3 speed that we saw at the pro day. And everything he does to me, there's good tackles every year. And don't get me wrong, Sewell is a great tackle, but I also don't think he's the best tackle in this draft class. He's great. He's powerful, but he's very raw. And you would need a good offensive line coach. I think if you're going to go for a tackle this early, you've got to take Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern, a guy who absolutely bodied Chase Young every time Ohio State played Northwestern. But also, when you get into the second round, you've got guys like Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State, who is an absolute violent man. You see him trot out pre-game. He's got his glasses on. He looks like really quiet. And then you see him play with such ferocity and such violence. And I think if you pick up Chase and then just say to a team like 10 picks later, if say Rashawn Slater is still out there because a lot of teams have needs that isn't offensive line right now, you say to a team like, hey, you can take our third round pick and next year's first. Give us your pick now. And then you go out and get a Rashawn Slater and then potentially in the second round get Tevin Jenkins. I find it hard to see where if you have a situation like that where you don't win 10 to 12 games next season with a guy like Burrow, obviously there's got to be some rehab work done and he's going to have to work on his mechanics a little bit after an injury that bad. But with a guy like that quarterback, with a guy who helped him break records, a 23 touchdown machine, I think you guys are an instant playoff team with Chase and then 2-3 extra pieces at offensive line. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility of you guys doing that. I know that there's some preconceived notions about Cincinnati because the owners are, I don't want to say notoriously cheap or whatever, but they're kind of looked at as not wanting to move off from pieces as quickly, or maybe they create friendships with people, which makes them maybe hold on to them too long. I don't know how true that is. This is just stuff that I see from the media, and
it's definitely out there in the media. I don't think they get a fair shake, but it's definitely out there in the media. And you make a great point that I have not seen anyone talk about. And what if we add the probability, the chance that Slater falls? What if we add that into the discussion? Everybody, every Bengals fan listening, the debate between the two, what if you add a chance that Slater drops and the Bengals can trade up to grab him? Then I'm Team Chase. That idea right there, just the opportunity, not guaranteeing it, not expecting it, but the idea that it could happen, because guess what? People last year were shocked at the offensive lineman sliding not 10 places, but 3 rounds. What if it happens and you could get both? I'm on board. Holy cow. I'm on board.
Because we did a mock draft, everyone at full 10 yards. And Rashawn Slater didn't get picked until pick 12. And someone traded up for him. And we try to be fair when we do this and look at how GMs would look at it. And they only gave up 3 picks. And you guys could easily do that. Give up a third, next year's first, maybe a 6th in there just to sweeten the deal up. And then you go into the second round and potentially Tevin Jenkins is there or something like that. And that's instantly a game changer for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
And like you said, you'd not thought about it, because I feel like it is quite an out-the-box thought for a team to do all that. That's a lot of things to happen. But if that happens, I think you guys are immediately playoff contenders, because you've then got Joe Burrow protected, a guy who, in terms of talent, it blows everyone out of the water in the last few drafts. I think the only person who even has that much talent who's managed to refine it is Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. But obviously he's not particularly an arm talent. He is just...
He's a running back.
Yeah, he's a I didn't want to say it.
Just kidding. Ravens fan, just kidding.
I'm wearing the Bengals shirt. I can get away with calling him a running back. But yeah, I just think there's so many directions you guys can go. But I think not picking up Jamar Chase and then going after a lineman very aggressive for trading up or in the second round, I think could be a big mistake, because he, like you looked mouth agape when I said, when it's all said and done, he'll probably be one of the best wide receivers ever. I truly believe that. I think he'll go down top 5. He'll be up there mentioned with Jerry Rice, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins. And already I think he's better than Justin Jefferson, who had a crazy rookie year. I mean, watch them play together. Jamar Chase was heads and shoulders above anything Justin Jefferson did at LSU. And I think he's better than a lot of players in the league right now. I wouldn't be afraid of saying he's better than CeeDee Lamb, another great rookie. Or I wouldn't be afraid of saying he's better than maybe a Robbie Anderson, who is a great wide receiver in a tough position. And I think if you take him, this might be blasphemy to Bengals fans, but potentially he'll be bigger than AJ Green when all is said and done. And I think he'll be mentioned in the same regard as Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco. That's how much belief I have in Jamar Chase. And
look, Chad's going to reach out to him and try to offer help and work. So absolutely, he's going to be goated from the beginning.
Of course.
You're talking about if Chase can have that kind of a career. Anthony Munoz is held in very high regard. But when you think about the Super Bowl teams, Anthony Munoz is not the first name that comes up as a reason they scored the touchdowns, as a reason. He's phenomenal. He's the best left tackle to ever play the game. But there you had Max Montoya. You had the line was a unit. But you had, in 88, you had Ickey Woods, you had Boomer, there are those other reasons. So Sewell could improve the line. Absolutely. If we can get the improvement on the offensive line that I expected in 2020, grab somebody in the second or your situation, if we got lucky and could trade up and get a Slater, then yeah, you're right. Chase gives us that guy who, if he has that type of career, it's a franchise changer alongside Burrow. You're selling me.
Because I think Slater's more ready to go than Panay. Just
a lot of people said that, yeah.
From the eye test, he's a guy who you could plug in day one with little to no training and he'd be good to go. But Sewell's going to need a little bit more development, because he is insanely powerful, insanely strong, and incredibly violent, which is what I love in offensive linemen. When you get a very violent offensive lineman, but they don't give up many penalties. And he's got all that, but he needs some refinement to his skill set. We see this all the time with very raw prospects coming in and they're not developed correctly. And they kind of regress. We've seen it with Lamar Jackson. He had a great passing season. They didn't try capitalize on that. And then he regressed. But then Josh Allen, who came in the same year, a guy who I was called crazy for saying would be in the MVP conversation last year, he fixed a lot of his mechanics, refined his skill set, and turned himself into one of the best quarterbacks in the league, arguably. So I think Cincinnati has a lot of options, and you're going to have to think long and hard about this, because do you want to pass up on the next Ocho Cinco, the next Randy Moss, the next Jerry Rice, or do you want to make sure Joe Burrow stays protected and help them work as an offensive unit by keeping him upright? I wouldn't want to make the call, is what I'm saying.
Well, let me ask you, all of those Patriots Super Bowls, who's your favorite Hall of Fame lineman?
Okay, this is going to sound ridiculous, but just because of how he kept Aaron Donald at bay, I need to say Andrews, because he never was physically impressive as a lineman, but the way he handled Aaron Donald in Super Bowl 53 was one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen from a lineman.
Now,
And
the reason they won.
See, that's a tough one. I'm not sure. I don't
think he was. I think you made your point, and I think, with the Patriots, it's that offensive game plan. It's Brady. It's how they use their weapons. It's Gronk. It's so many different things. They had a good line. They had a good enough line. Sometimes they had a great line. Sometimes not so good. There have been seasons that I saw the Patriots try. Seemed like 300 different combinations, and they kept winning.
We also had Dante Scarnecchia, which for people who follow, the coaching side of football, I think Dante Scarnecchia, probably the best offensive line coach who ever lived. Yep. And obviously he's retired now, and we've got people in to replace him. But the way he would take raw prospects and refine them and turn them into the line we have is just insane. So I think maybe he's more responsible.
Yeah, and I think we've got that with Pollock. He was a good coach. He did some good things with our players, when he was here, and we're excited to have him back. So, if Sewell is impressive, but when you look at everything, all the pieces, and playing out in the future, you're selling me. I'm definitely it's tilting back toward Chase.
Well, I'm glad I could sort of maybe persuade you a little bit in that regard. But before we talk about how you became a Bengals fan and talk about the Cincinnati as a city as well, because I currently live here, how do you think next season is going to go? And you can give me how it will go with Sewell, how it will go with Chase, or just what are your hopes for next season?
I'm hoping playoffs. I see playoffs. Again, I'll always throw out the disclaimer about injuries, but I only throw it out for the very, very worst. We're going to lose a lineman. Somebody's a wide receiver is going to get dinged up. We're going to have defensive injuries. But when two entire positions get completely wiped out, it makes it a lot more difficult. You're not testing depth. You're trying to find people who are sitting on a couch who've played the position you can sign real quickly. Barring that, I'm expecting playoffs. And that it's going to be a tough schedule this year, but there are winnable games, and I think they took the next step last season. They dealt with a lot of adversity, and they still pulled off some good wins. Burrow in a second year, I just feel like his growth was exponential each game. It was absolutely wild to me how quickly he picked up on things. Second year, he's got a full offseason. Oh, man. he's going to look like, I think he's going to look like an all-pro next year. He's just, his processing is phenomenal.
I was about to say, and hopefully the new stripes you guys come in with as well. The 2 helmet shell rule, I'm hoping you use the white helmets with black stripes for the color rush. That would look incredible. But, but this is your team, you'll say. So let's talk about how you became a Bengals fan. And I live in the city of Cincinnati right now, and it's a city that kind of got memed on before I actually had the chance to visit. And I say that coming from the UK and Toledo, so that's nothing to really joke about in those respects. But you always heard the jokes of like, oh, when you land at the Cincinnati airport, they greet you with, "Hey, welcome to Cincinnati," kind of, and obviously Harambe the gorilla and all these sort of things. But tell me how you became a Bengals fan and what the city of Cincinnati means to you.
So I became a Bengals fan because of the cartoon Garfield.
That's one I've not heard before.
a lot of fans who might be listening have heard it, but I'll tell it again. I love it because I'm still a huge Garfield fan. I grew up 3 hours north of Cincinnati, and really, I was more into video games. Even back then, and I'm not going to say how far back then, but I was 5 years old programming on a Commodore VIC-20. That'll give it away. And we moved to Tennessee. The first year was for the '88 Super Bowl. Now I felt like a foreigner down there. I'm in class and these kids come up to me and they know I'm from Ohio. They literally have no idea what anything in Ohio is where. They just assumed, hey, this kid's got to be a Bengals fan because Ohio. So this kid comes up to me. He says, "Them Bengals are going to get their butts whooped in the Super Bowl." And I'm allowed to say that accent because I used to talk like that. I spent a long time down there, and I came back to Ohio talking like that. People looked at me like, why does the name Jeff have 4 syllables?
I was about to say, they must have thought you were from Kentucky at that point.
So I bet 25 cents on the game. I had no idea who the Bengals were. I'm like, no, they won't. They'll win. No, here's 25 cents. So I ran home and I told Mom, we got to watch the Bengals. I don't know what it is, but we got to watch the Bengals. So we turned the Super Bowl on and I saw the helmets and I'm just like, oh my God, it's Garfield, the orange and black stripes, and immediately fell in love. It helped that, Tim Krumrie unfortunately broke his leg, and I've always been a little bit of an underdog, fan. So I wanted him to win for that. Ickey Woods, Stanford Jennings, the kickoff return for a touchdown. I'm screaming. I'm not even sure exactly what's going on. And I'm just yelling and screaming as a kid. I was hooked. I was hooked ever since. And, it's funny. A lot of what I do, if I'm trying to give away tickets or memorabilia, I'm very, very lucky to be around it a lot. And I come across autograph opportunities and I never turn down, getting an autograph from a player. But growing up, I didn't have the opportunity. We didn't have the money to drive down and go see a game. My grandfather's a Browns fan. He worked with a guy who was a Bengals fan and would go down to the training camps. And he took me down one time as a kid. And first time I got autograph, that was the most amazing thing in the world to me. And I still remember like dreaming and hoping to go to more than one game, in 5 years. And we've got 13 seats now, and we go to every game, and we, go to London every chance we get. We go to London, and we're just incredibly lucky to do that. And my roots are still, Sean Volker, famous. Ultra famous Cincinnati artist. I was lucky enough to be able to grab a Geno Atkins piece that he did. Basically, it's Garfield wearing a Geno Atkins jersey. And spoke perfectly to how I became a fan, and it's one of my favorite pieces.
I want to ask though, where obviously you've been to London, so you've sort of seen how eccentric the fans are there, and it's every single color
Love
of
'em.
every single team. How did you come up with the Bengals captain identity and the costume? Because it's one of the most eye-catching things you ever see at a game. I'm going to be honest.
For better
I've
or
not been
worse,
to a Bengals. Yeah, I've not been to a Bengals game yet. I'm hoping to go in future, but where did this identity come from of the Bengals captain, and how did it sort of develop?
You can thank Microsoft.
Microsoft?
Yeah. Here we go again with a story. So my tailgate, Bengal Bomb Squad, we have the most famous Bengals fan, Houday Baby, Sean. Love him to death. His whole persona is just perfect. And when we first started getting, we got the tickets. We parked in the garage closer to Great American Ballpark, and then we couldn't tailgate in the garage. So the next season we ended up getting lot 1. I had no idea what lot to get, but we found lot 1, and we would always walk by the Bengal Bomb Squad and Big John, Houday Baby, the bus, the inflatable flailing arm guy. We always got there late, never had the opportunity to hang out with him. Finally, one day we did. I'm just a natural pitch-in kind of guy, help clean up, help set up, help whatever. Got to know them, and they anointed me part of the team. They gave me a button. They pulled my face on there. Now, I always thought I was cool. Apparently, I'm mistaken. And I would always go to games with the cargo shorts and jersey tucked in. Now, we don't have any kids yet. We're undecided. The Bengals games, you can't take a toddler. I don't know. But I went to games like a dad, like the lame suburban white dad. I apologize for all the lame suburban white dads wearing cargo shorts and tucked in jerseys. Everybody always told me to.
Did you have your phone in a holster though? Did you have a phone holster on your belt though? That's where you really become a dad.
No, thankfully no. But everybody told me to untuck my jersey, and I never untucked my jersey. So one day, Big John contacts me, and I did some technology. We started doing some recording, some interviews. I wanted to bump up some things and share with the fans who can't make it. So because of some of that, he says, "Hey, we got contacted to do a Microsoft commercial, and I want you in." So we did an interview with the casting people. They loved us. So that took off. And I am here with Big John with his awesome mohawk, and jersey and leather jacket and patches. And he always sticks his tongue out because he's a Kiss fan. Houday Baby, who, just the most organic super fan creation that just fits. It just works. I can't think of him in anything other than that outfit. And Mario, King Houday on Twitter, same thing, awesome mohawk. And then there's suburban dad. I'm like, I got to think of something. I can't go. These guys are amazing. I can't go with my jersey tucked in. Well, I grew the beard out because I started working IT in a construction company, and it's very hard to get sometimes some of the laborers to care about security in IT. I'm like, I'm going to grow out a beard just to get them to listen to me. And it happened to come in kind of okay. So they started calling me Captain Obvious. So I'm talking to the wife. I'm like, you know what? Let's see if we can pull off some kind of weird, and it is weird, Bengals Captain Obvious outfit. Ordered the jacket off of Amazon. The first try, I was spray painting the lapels, and there was overspray. I had a huge black spot on the back. The cloth was hanging and wrinkled, and I was frustrated. We did it the night before Microsoft came to the tailgate. I'm not going to do it. And the wife, she encouraged me. We went, and it was the opening day massacre. The Ravens whooped our tails. and everybody at the stadium laughed at me. I brought joy to a miserable day because of this stupid outfit. And I said, you know what? I'm going to wear it from now on. Hey, if I can make somebody laugh while we have misery on the field, it's worth it. And been doing it ever since. Even Green Bay's hottest ever recorded game, I was there, and this got pliable. I thought it was going to melt. It got really soft. I was worried that it would actually start to hang. It's work, but it's fun. It's absolutely fun. I appreciate all the fans that laugh at it.
I was about to say, that's a great story because you are instantly recognizable, and I don't think there's many fans as iconic as yourself across the nation. You're on every time the Bengals are on TV. There's at least one shot of you in the stands. I think you're almost a mascot at this point for the team. I think they should have you on the sidelines, honestly.
I feel bad for them. If this is the best they can do, I feel bad.
but it's the spirit, and that's what I love. Did you end up moving to Cincinnati, or do you still live outside?
We're around Columbus right now. The plan is my lifelong dream has always been Cincinnati, and we recently got one step closer to that. So it'll happen, and then it's on. Oh yeah, I've got some plans for tailgate bus.
I'm going to have to come down and check that out. But one question I will ask to set you apart, to know if you're truly ready for Cincinnati or not: Gold Star or Skyline?
So it's rough because in Columbus we have Skyline. So I love Skyline.
I love Skyline. It's the best one, I think.
I might change my mind when I get to Cincinnati, but we just had Skyline last night, so
because I know you have Gold Star in Paul Brown, but I know at Reds it's Skyline.
Yep. So I've had Gold Star Paul Brown, and I did not like it as much as Skyline. So I'm not dodging. I'll say that I did not like it but. I have changed my preferences between Pepsi and Coke throughout my life, depending on what I'm drinking. So, who knows?
As you say, my girlfriend and her entire family are staunchly Skyline. I think if I ever brought Gold Star into the house, I would be promptly kicked out.
That's how you know you're in Cincinnati.
And maybe have stuff thrown at me. I mean, even when I met her when she was in Bowling Green, the first meal we had together was Skyline chili on hot dogs. So it's kind of just like a prelude to everything happening. But that's when you're truly from Cincinnati, when the chili matters that much. But before we get out of here, is there anything you would like to plug?
Oh boy. I already thanked Ron for the amazing shirt. I got a picture I got to post. He sent some stuff over. It's awesome. The super fans out there, thank you. You guys, gals, everybody, we're growing. I still think Houday Baby's the one that kicked everything off for so many of us. You've got Bengal Arrow. Bengalorian is just up and coming, bringing some absolutely hilarious posts, and the family putting the videos out, and we've got TikTok creators, we've got Dalton RC doing some design work, and everybody is coming together as a fan base on social media, and I absolutely love to see it. The Cardinals posted the score, the Reds Cardinals game. And if you look at the replies, it's all Reds fans absolutely destroying the Cardinals. I want that kind of energy.
An iconic moment.
Oh, yeah. I want that kind of energy for the Bengals. And we're getting it. The Bengals group chat, all those guys, come up with crazy ideas. It's just absolutely phenomenal. We got Yaz, who just came out of nowhere and has more followers than really anyone in the space.
Yeah,
and her pet talks are great. Absolutely love it. Bengals fans, keep it up. Keep it up. We need you.
And you are at Bengals Captain on Twitter, probably one of the best Bengals fans. You and Yaz always coming with great content. And rational debates, which is crazy to see from some football fans if you spend enough time around Steelers Twitter. It's good to see some rational debates. But I am Kieran at the Himbo F10Y. And make sure you go to full10yards.com/shop and pick yourself up a draft guide. We've graded nearly every player who's going to be in this draft year. It's an incredible book, and we hope you can all go pick one up. They're available for digital and physical, but if you buy the physical, you get the digital copy too. And I'll make sure you get one as well, Bengals Captain, so you can have a read through and see why Jamar Chase could potentially be the guy for you. But from everyone here at Full 10 Yards, thank you very much. You can see all the links down below. Bengals Captain's also there. So thank you, guys, and we will see you in the next one.
Kick it and go. Kick it and go. With a stiff arm, spin move, in zone, go. Off the sideline, a touchdown, I put on a show. Kick it and go. I had to kick it off.